Hi guys, so in today's look I'm showing you guys how I got this everyday makeup look for work. It doesn't matter where you work at. I think this is a look that you can wear no matter where you work. So I am just prepping her skin for makeup. This is something I always do with every client, and I always like to make sure the face is dewy and moisturized before I start on with any makeup, so there are no dry patches, nothing is clinging onto the skin the way it shouldn't be. So I'm just making sure I'm using a really nice moisturizer, and I'm using an under eye cream. This is not something you have to do if you don't want to. um, it's just something that I wanted to do. Some people prefer doing their under eye mask or anything like that the night before, and that's something you can do, but because she was here during the day, this is why I chose to do that. So I'm using a concealer right on her forehead, and I'm using a foundation that matches the perimeter of her forehead, and I'm making sure to blend everything together seamlessly. Also, this is not something you have to do. If you're doing your makeup every day, you know what works for you, so that's what you should do. This is just a certain look, or just a look that I feel like people can achieve every day. Your face still looks beat, or whatever the case might be, still looks good, and it can just be an everyday look for some people. For some people, this might be way too much, and for some people, this might just be what they needed. So I'm just making sure to blend everything together, and that there are no harsh lines between the foundation and the concealer. So now I'm going in with her brows. She usually shapes them the way they are now, but I rounded them at the tail, and I really like the way it turned out, and so did she. So I'm just making sure, even though this scene, this clip is sped up, every time I added pencil, I made sure to use a spoolie to brush it out so it's not so excessive on her brows. And I'm using a concealer that matches her perfectly to clean up her brows. And I always step back and then fill in whatever I feel like there's a mistake when I'm doing someone else's face. I'm always make sure to step back to see the whole picture, and then I fix whatever I need to fix. And that's what I did with this brow. And I always make sure to brush it out with a spoolie, so you guys can see the difference between the left brow and the eye, the left brow and the right brow. And I am moving on to the eyes. So here I'm only using two colors from the 3502 palette. I am using the color Flux, and it's the second color all the way to the left. And I'm using the color right above it called Universal, and that's what I just used on her brow bone. So for the morning, when you still, like I said, you still want to look put together, even if you want to use the eyeshadow, and you can use any eyeshadow that you feel is appropriate for wherever you work. I just wanted to do something very simple but still with color. So it's a very nude eye, and I'm just gonna do a classic wing line and nothing too crazy, and add mascara. And honestly, that's all I did for the eyes. I didn't do anything too crazy. And I'm going in with that color Universal right on her brow bone to marry in the color Flux together, and I'm just blending it together so you guys can see that's all done. And now I'm going in with a liner. My favorite liner still is the Inglot Gel liner in 77. And whichever eye I start off on a liner first, like on a client, is usually what takes me longer, because I'm mapping out the shape and I want to know what kind of shape I want. Being that I already know the shape of her eyes, so that takes me longer. But when I get to the other eye, it's really easy. You guys will see I do it in no time, because I've already mapped out the other eye and I already know what shape I'm going for and the thickness, so it's going to be super easy. And when you're doing your liner, take your time, don't try to rush, because the more you rush, it's going to frustrate you that it's not matching the other, and I don't always get the liners right every time I'm doing it, so don't let this clip fool you. This just happened to be a great liner day. But just take your time when you're doing your eyeliner, and because it's your face and it's your eye, you're gonna get it. It's gonna come as a second nature to you. And now I'm just going in with this Dior Show Pump and Volume mascara. I really like this mascara, but I notice I only like it when I use it on other people, or when I use it without the wand that comes with it. It's just too much that comes on the wand. But the mascara itself, I love. So now, like I said earlier, you can do whatever it is you do to your face every day. You can go with less makeup, you can go with more. Right now I'm using the MW200 concealer from Inglot under her eyes, and I'm just going to make sure I blend it all out very well. It's the same concealer I used on her forehead. And when you guys see me blending this out, I used a very thin layer. So when you see me blending it out, you see I don't blend it all the way into the crease of her under eye. And the reason why I don't do that is I feather it out to the very last minute before I set it with powder. Like, I don't like it to go all the way up there, because that's what causes a lot of creasing. So you see that I'm using the beauty blender to push it up there. I'm pushing it into the skin to make sure it's blended seamlessly, but I'm not taking it right up onto her under her lash line. I just wanted to fast forward this clip because I was blending for days, and I just had to make sure everything looked really good and there was no demarcation or line of demarcation. So now I am using both this Nars and Kryolan foundation. I am using them in combination of each other. Now I'm using the one that matches her skin, which is the Nars one, and I'm using the Kryolan D13 to give her slight contour. Now I know a lot of people, they cake on the contour after they're done with their face. What I'm doing here is the darker color I'm putting where her contour will be, and her foundation color I'm putting all over the face. So you guys will see on the other side how I achieve that, or like you've seen it in a second. So the darker one is what I put there, and then you see her foundation is what I'm putting everywhere else to blend it out. So I'm not adding layer and layer and layers. Everything are thin layers, but still has great coverage. And also you have to remember the type of brush you're using. Here I'm using a very lightweight brush. I'm not using anything too dense, because when you, depending on the type of foundation you have, if you're using it too dense, it would give you a full coverage. So I'm just going in with my favorite powder. This is the RCMA No Color powder. I use this powder on everybody, doesn't matter the skin tone. So I'm not really baking. It's not something that I do. I'm just using it, like setting it under her eyes, and you guys won't see it, but I've already swept it off right after this clip, and because I use it very lightly, so it's not something that's going to give anybody flashback, and I really love that it takes the shine away. And I used it all over the face, that's why you guys see the way it looks right now. And I'm using a powder that's slightly a shade darker than she is, to just set where I added that contour, so I didn't have to like add another contour powder. So I'm just really buffing everything away, and I'm using that powder to set anywhere that I've added, obviously, any cream and liquid. So now I am going in with a eyeshadow or highlighter from the Missylynn palette from B&H. I rarely use this, and I picked it up this day, and I don't understand why I have not used it. Like, it's so beautiful. And I'm just blending it to give her a nice glow. As you guys can see, I didn't go too crazy. It just matched her perfectly, and she loves highlighter. So I decided to give her something that was going to be glowing, but still not too crazy. As you guys can see, it's blended very well into the skin, and I'm using a very detailed brush to apply her blush, and I'm using this big powder brush with nothing on it to marry the powder on her face, the contour powder, and her blush and highlighter, and marrying everything together. So here, which is honestly the last step, is the lips. You can do whatever color you want for lips, but for work, I feel like this is such a safe color. It's very appropriate. It doesn't matter where you work. I feel like it's such a safe color. And I'm going to use a liner to marry everything together so there are no harsh lines anywhere. But this color matches her perfectly. So if you were going to a bar or happy hour, or you're meeting up with your friends after, this is something you can change, or you can make it into a bolder pink. You can make it to you could take the lipstick off and add red lipstick. You could add lashes, and those two things would just make it go from daytime appropriate work to nighttime glam. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and this is the look finished. I think we had to do something else, and she was already posing. I'm not even sure, but this is it, and I hope you guys really like it. If you guys want me to do more videos like this, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.